In the last lectures, we have gone through what are sociological theories, and then we saw the various strands of sociological theories. In those strands were the theories like functionalism, conflict theories, postmodernism, feminism. Now, in those theories, we saw that let us talk about the conflict theories or functional theories. So, the major emphasis was upon the society, was on the structure, and individual behavior was guided according to that structure. So today we'll deal with a very different strand of sociological theories, and which will take into account social action theories. Now these theories take individual perspective into account. Now this is an infograph, so I'll make this as simple as I can for you. So in this infograph, if you carefully see, there will be, and this is an introduction. In the introduction, it says that uh, here how people, I mean, how people perceive themselves in a situation is important here. Individual motives for actions, like if you will see the approach of Weber, then he will look at the meanings attached by the actors while performing any social action. So, individual perspective will become important here in comparison to the overriding effect of the social structure upon individual behavior. Now, there are some examples which you will need to quote here, like the dramaturgical theory, which has been given by Irving Goffman. You imagine yourself to be on a stage and how various characters play their role. It is this analogy is extended to social situations too. We'll also look at the labeling theory given by Howard Becker, in which he says that if you give a positive label to an individual, the reaction of that individual to any social situation will also be positive. We'll also look at symbolic interactionism. Now, symbolic interactionism has been given by G.H. Mead. So, the major emphasis here will be upon the symbols and the meaning generated via the symbols. Then we'll go on and further see evaluate these theories. I mean, how far you can take these theories when it comes to sociological investigations. Like Giddens has said that a negative aspect of these theories is that it disregards the structures, but still there are structures which exist in the society which act as a constraint upon the individuals. Similarly, there are certain positive aspects of it, like Paul Willis. Paul Willis says that it is useful for teachers to understand how pupils perceive school to help explain and deal with rebellious pupils. Now, if they you have seen the differences between psychology and sociology. So, in psychology, individual perspective was very important. And Paul Willis says that when you want to understand why certain students act as rebels, you'll have to have a deeper insight into the philosophical or psychological conditioning of such children, and then you can overcome the situation where they act as rebellious. So, in effect, there are certain positive aspects to it, certain negative aspects to it. So, whenever anybody tells you to analyze or to present a micro perspective, all of this diagram is to be reproduced. I mean, you can do it in a paragraph format or you can do it in a figure format. So, now after having understood the general layout of how we are going to study, now if we go on to illustrate certain specific factors. Now, first of all, let me give you an introduction of these theories. So, I already told you either there is a continuous there is a scale on the left hand of a spectrum are the structural theories, on the right hand of the spectrum are action theories. Now, when I told you the left hand of the spectrum, that is the structural theories, you will see Marxism, functionalism, and feminism there. They will think more of society as a whole and ask society level questions. They will keep these society level questions as a reference and then understand the actions of behavior by of individuals by looking at the structure of the wider society. And they have a notion that it is the society which is having overriding impact upon the individuals. In contrast, sociologists who adopt social action perspectives usually reject the view that society has a clear structure. Some social action theorists do not deny the existence of social structure. This is to be noticed. You cannot take this line that they deny the existence of the social structure. But they say that yes, social structure exists, but it is sum total of action of the individuals. And there will be some theorists who will say that there is no structure at all. Now, let me give you deeper insights into the labeling theory. It focuses on how the definitions, meanings people impose on situations or on other people can have real consequences, no matter that these definitions or meanings imposed have are based in reality or not. It argues that people in power generally have more ability to impose their definitions on situations than the powerless. For example, we know that in our society, parents, teachers, and police are generally in a position of authority to the populace. So they have the power by which they can label someone, and these labels will have real consequences for such individuals. It criticizes it. This point is to be noted, the one in the bold, that it criticizes both Mead and Goffman. We'll see about the Mead and Goffman, but you just keep this point in fact that labeling theory criticizes both Mead and Goffman. It argues that while we need to look at micro level interactions and meaning to examine labeling, we still need to understand where people are located in the power structure. Now, see, I told you previously when I was dealing with the scale of structural and action theories that some of the action theories will disregard social structure, while there will be some action theories which will say that it is still important to consider social structure into account. Therefore, Howard Becker is more of the viewpoint that we yes, we are dealing with the micro perspective, micro level analysis of interactions, but still we'll need to examine where the people are located in a broad power structure of the society. This is how we will be able to understand the process of labeling and identity construction. Now, Max Weber. Why is Max Weber important? Because he is the founder of social action theory. He believed that we need to develop an empathetic understanding. Now, this point is to be highlighted, empathetic understanding. So, he vouched for an empathetic understanding to uncover the personal meanings and motives individuals give to their actions. And this was crucial to understanding how social structures change over time. However, he also believed that we could make generalization about types of motive people had, and these general motivations were influenced by the wider society. So therefore, if you take my opinion is that this scale and spectrum we were discussing about, on left hand were structural theories and right hand were action theories. Max Weber comes in the middle. I mean, he realized he, rather than thinking of a pure social action or just like taking the micro perspective, he is of the opinion that generalizations could be made and structure does play an important role. Then G.H. Mead developed symbolic interactionism, and he placed more emphasis on the role of active individuals than Weber. So for Mead, I mean, you can, now you are in the middle of the spectrum. Now you go from Weber to the right hand of the spectrum, and you will see that G.H. Mead is on the extreme right. I mean, he developed symbolic interactionism, and he says that individual in a society is not dumb. He is active. There is still society, but it doesn't mean that he disregards the society. There is still a society out there which constrains human action, in the sense that there are a number of pre-existing social roles in which either we are born into or we are socialized into. However, within that continuum, people have considerable freedom. They have considerable freedom to shape their identities. I mean, it is not that the structure is dictating each and every aspect of life of the individual. They still have autonomy to decide. Now, Mead's work has been used by Irving Goffman. We'll see in the next page. So, Mead also argued that everything about society is open to multiple interpretations and meanings. The same institutions, social roles, individual actions can mean very different things to different people. For example, for Mead, individuals are constantly interpreting and reinterpreting each other's symbolic actions during an interaction, and this is a very complex process. I mean, you need to understand the micro details of how people interpret each other's actions and how their reactions are in turn reinterpreted. So you just imagine a conversation between two people. So meanings will be shared, and based upon the reaction of one person to another, those meanings will be transformed. Therefore, if you understand this micro aspect of how people interpret each other's actions and reactions, you can get better insights of how society works. In order to understand why people act in a way that they do, we need to understand people's concept, their identities, their ideas about the generalized others and micro interpretations. So generalized other, there is a concept of generalized others and significant others. We will go into it, but to be brief, for you significant others will be your family, but generalized others will be the society in which you live. Now we go to a diametrical theory of social action. Even Goffman argued that the most appropriate way to understand people is to view them as if they are actors on the stage. They use props such as clothes, body language to project idealized images of themselves. I mean, you will act in a way to portray yourself as an ideal person in front of others, no matter if it goes in line with what you actually are or not. So the concept of projected images. Your personality, he says, he's of the opinion that your personality is not fixed. In a different social settings, in a different social interactions, such personalities will change. Therefore, there is a concept of multiple identities. And just remember a theater analogy when you are analyzing it. We all have, as do the theaters have a backstage, we all have a backstage, which is our homes, where we prepare for our upcoming adventurism in a social world. For Irvin Goffman, thus you can see that individuals are very active and manipulative because they are taking multiple identities at the same time. Therefore, we can never actually get to see people's real identities unless we spend considerable time with them during their day to day life. Now, on the left, it is just a revision of what I have just told you that Max Weber was midway, G.H. Mead laid more emphasis on active individual. Goffman developed Mead's theories, though he criticized it in a way also. Then labeling theory criticizes both Mead and Goffman. Now another theory which is very important, it is to be noted, is C.H. Cooley's looking glass self. So when you look at the mirror, who do you see? You don't see who you actually are, but you just see someone who appears in the eyes of others. So, in this theory, it is said self perception is influenced by an individual's belief by how he or she is perceived by others, observations how others react, and interpretation of how others react. Now, this was a brief introduction of social action theories. In the next lecture, we'll look at the theories of Max Weber. Now, these will be very important. Initially, I'll give you a brief understanding about who Max Weber is and what are his contributions. Then I'll go on to explain the social action theories given by Max Weber, and then I'll even go to theorize the ideal types as given by him. We'll look at the authority, how he defines the authority, and then we'll look at the bureaucracy and his model of bureaucracy. We'll even compare the approach of Max Weber and Marx. Then we'll go on to do his final conclusion with the Protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism. This is very important for your exam. So keep learning and be with me. Wait for the next lecture. We'll start soon.